We got an interesting video for you guys today. The myth of the self-made billionaire. I mean, my gosh, in America, you hear it all the time. Maybe people say it in Europe too, because billionaires are common in a lot of countries these days. But people are like super almost proud of billionaires. Like they feel pride and accomplishment for a billionaire becoming a billionaire. And I mean, if you go on YouTube about a video criticizing a billionaire like this one, you can go into the comments and see people like defending them, saying they just worked extra hard and had a good idea. They deserve their money.
Which is a crazy concept, because even if they worked 10 times harder than me and had an idea that's 10 times better than me, does that mean they decide that they can make 100,000 times more money than me? Like, I don't know. It's very interesting, and it seems like it's very hard to get to that spot of having billions of dollars without exploiting people on the way.
Yeah, I think I subscribe to the belief that if you are a billionaire, you could not do it without exploiting your workers. And I mean, a lot of times they exploit their customers as well, do some shady business practices. None of these companies would exist, and none of these billionaires would exist without their workers, and they pay them nothing. Usually in America, not even a living wage.
If these billionaires ride off of profits, profits are super exploitative, because why wouldn't you just pay a bit more of those profits back down into the workers who are giving you all those profits?
So let's check into this. At the end, we're gonna watch maybe we can look up that Jesse Ventura video of him being like, "Do you think he worked harder than me on the jackhammer?"
The pounding of the jackhammer.
Let's do it. Here we go.
This episode and others like it are made possible by the generous support of my patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to help support this channel and get early access to every...
Big news on Rihanna, the superstar singer and entrepreneur gaining a new title, billionaire. Chief business correspondent.
Crazy that just celebrities are becoming billionaires out of nowhere too.
Media mogul's incredible journey. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning, Robin. Yeah, this is a great story, a fun one. Women entrepreneurs and founders, business leaders, they are moguls, they are creating businesses, they are disrupting industries, and Rihanna is among them. She can now add billionaire to the top of her titles list.
Here in the United States, we'll often hear stories like these. It's no secret that Americans love to hear about billionaires. You'll find them everywhere. They're on the news, have their own TV shows, movies, and even make their way into elected office. Specifically, we consistently give massive audiences to self-made billionaires. The people who, unlike the
It's crazy to me, just right away, the example of Elon Musk, you have people talking about, oh, he's so smart, that's why he got so rich. He didn't even invent Tesla.
Yeah, and
he bought it.
His father was like
super rich,
South Africa, like
apartheid.
apartheid type stuff. So even if, hypothetically speaking, if Elon was a very moral and ethical person, his money originally still came from unethical sources. But of course, he is not the most ethical and moral person.
Yeah.
Democrats and monarchs of yore didn't simply inherit their wealth. In this episode, we're talking about the obsession with so-called self-made billionaires, how misleading that term can be, and everything wrong with the myth of the self-made person.
All of them take credit and will take all of the praise of being so smart for what a lot of times their engineers made too, and then those engineers just make normal money.
I feel like a huge prime example of this now that you can see being played out like live on YouTube is Mr. Beast. Like he's kind of like, you see his whole journey of like kind of the whole start of it, but it's broadcasted now because it's on YouTube, and he's becoming more and more sus as he gets more and more money.
He's literally becoming Elon Musk, I feel like Elon Musk, people liked him right away. He was like, guys, we're going to help the environment. And then he started becoming a weird white supremacist Nazi guy.
Of every favorable depiction of a billionaire is this idea that they have earned their success and their wealth. The most compelling stories are those of billionaires who, through sheer hard work and grit, so we're told, have conquered the American dream and made a better life for themselves, those around them, and our society as a whole. But there are a number of reasons this is simply incorrect. We'll get to exactly how this idea is wrong in a second. But first, we should talk about why the myth of self-made billionaires is such a problem. For starters, vanishingly few people ever become billionaires. In the US, it's around 600 people, or 0.0002% of the population. Perversely,
it'll be us
however,
soon.
the myth of the self-made billionaire percent of
We just gotta work 99.998% harder than everyone.
Everyone in America is a soon-to-be billionaire. That's why we shouldn't raise taxes on them or expect them to pay more of their fair share in taxes because
They worked harder.
they worked harder and we're going to be there soon, so we don't want to get taxed.
the population. Perversely, however, the myth of the self-made billionaire tries to trick you into believing that anybody, yes, even you, dear viewer, could one day be just like them. After all, if they can do it, so can you. You already know how they attempt to sell this falsehood. It's always so incredibly simple. They tell you they started from nothing, that they were once just like you. They too had a 9-to-5 job that they hated. They too had trouble paying their bills. But instead of complaining, they just worked harder. And eventually, after 100-hour work weeks, they were able to lift themselves up by their bootstraps and just look at them now. Here's where the problems start. If they can successfully convince you that 1, they have earned their wealth, and 2, that you can do it too, they can use those 2 assumptions to convince you of some far more nefarious things. For starters, they can convince you to act against your own self-interest, and the interest of the vast majority of Americans. The most obvious example of this is making it seem like it would be better for everyone if billionaires paid less in taxes. If we just got the government out of the way of these people who have proven to us that they are visionaries, that
If they don't pay taxes, then they'll invest all of their money back into businesses, make more jobs, and the money will trickle down. Reaganomics 101.
And we gotta get the government out of the way, because they kind of just hinder our potential. And by potential, I mean they put regulations on us.
Yeah, if those regulations were gone, they could build more factories, more jobs, and poison our water.
Yeah, that's what we want,
I
right?
love it. I love it.
they alone know how to manage money. To be clear, the ultra-rich already have a good way of avoiding taxes. You can see exactly how they do it in our video, How Billionaires Pay Less in Taxes Than You. But of course that doesn't matter, since they'll always try to lower that number further and further. The more they do, the less money goes towards things that actually affect your day-to-day life. Roads, public services, healthcare, education. The more they keep of the wealth they have no intention of spending in the first place, the worse off we all are. They'll convince you that that might be you someday, that when you're in their shoes, you'll want the same thing. After all, what's the government ever done for you? We'll get to just how much it's done for them. But first, let's get back to the
Corporate
self-made
subsidies.
story. In some cases, that story is simply a blatant lie. Take Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. The last decade's favorite billionaire duo loves
Why,
to...
when they become billionaires, do they just instantly wear black suits?
Yeah, and once they hit around closer to the ages of 40, 50, all of a sudden their lips purse up and then their skin gets super tight to their face randomly.
And they start going. He probably does behind closed doors. You
honestly,
never know.
yeah.
weave a compelling story of their 100% American-made success. Jeff Bezos likes to tell this story of a young guy who built a strong work ethic at his McDonald's job. He loves to emphasize
Oh
how
my
it was
god! I never heard that one before.
No.
Created a strong work ethic at McDonald's. Wow.
And that is an interesting thing. All the billionaires always talk about their beginnings all the time. So in their minds, their ego tells them that they deserve this.
Yep. It's crazy. And then suddenly they also deserve it once they get to that point where they are a billionaire. Then they just stop working completely and their money just starts ramping up faster than it ever has.
Yeah.
I mean, Elon Musk tweets 1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
It's insane.
We have a lot of social medias and we forget to take pictures for our Instagram.
Elon Musk obviously doesn't do anything.
his hard work that eventually landed him a spot at Princeton, then on Wall Street, and finally pushed him to one day risk it all on the crazy idea of selling books on the internet. His story reaches a dramatic pause when he starts Amazon out of a garage with nothing but a dream, and it resumes satisfyingly when his company becomes the internet giant it is today.
And also, talking about the risk of that all, there's no one mentions the fact that the risk if it didn't pay off, he would be completely lost and homeless and have nothing to help him out after that.
Elon Musk
No
tells a very
safety nets.
similar story, that of an industrious kid bullied for being too nerdy and into science fiction, who climbed out of adversity and overcame the all-too-common American hurdles of student loan debt and people not believing in him with the sheer ingenuity of his entrepreneurship. These stories are, of course, embellished, and while individual elements of them may not be false, the overall image they're trying to sell you is a lie. Because it wasn't the novelty of Amazon alone that catapulted it to the center of the internet, so much as the absurd head start that an initial $300,000 investment that Jeff's parents gave him. And although
wow.
Musk likes to
Rich
play up his
parents.
version of the everyman story too, his family is most infamously known for his father's ownership of a lucrative emerald mine and role as a property developer in apartheid South Africa. These people
you go.
didn't start from nothing. It wasn't just hard work. Billionaires never get there alone. They get there in any combination of three ways. 1. Family wealth and privilege. 2. Labor exploitation. And 3. Government help. Let's start with number 1. Family wealth
Elon
and
Musk
3.
literally is bang, bang, bang. I mean, like, you can, like, see them clearly, too. They're not even hidden. Elon Musk gets $40 billion a year from government subsidies.
That's crazy.
That's insane. And then he was cutting all the government waste, but he never cut any of his subsidies the whole time.
Just cut things that people like actually kind of use.
Huh.
Government help. Let's start with number 1. Family wealth and privilege explains the success of a lot of the billionaires that sit at the top of our social hierarchy. We've already seen how much of a role family wealth played in the success of even the quote self-made celebrity billionaires like Musk and Bezos. So it should come as no surprise that the great majority of billionaires have similarly favorable advantages. The racial and gender makeup of the billionaire class is not an
Huzzah.
accident. It is no surprise
lizard.
then that the people who face the fewest societal hurdles, white men, overwhelmingly dominate the Forbes rankings, while women and people from racial minority groups only make up a fraction. But privilege doesn't explain every single billionaire's climb to the top. Exploitation, however, does. What do we mean when we say exploitation? Those familiar with Marxist literature will already know that exploitation is the expropriation of surplus value from labor by capital. Okay, but what does that mean? It's actually very simple. According to Marx, society is divided into two classes: the owner class, the bourgeoisie, and the working class, the proletariat. I promise I'll make this quick. The owner class, people who own businesses, factories, farms, and so on, offer a deal to the working class: work or starve. As you already know, just about every single one of us takes that deal. So, what do the owner class say? They say that for X amount of hours worked, workers will be paid Y amount of money. In order for that deal to be profitable for the owner class, they need to pay workers less money than the value they actually produce. That difference is what Marx calls surplus value. The money that you make for the company will always be more than the money the business puts back into your hands in the form of a paycheck. Otherwise, it has no money to give the people who own the company, the stakeholders, who may never have even stepped foot on the premises. If you want an idea of just how much value business owners steal from their workers, just look at this Ohio pizza shop, where for one day the owner decided not to siphon off that surplus value and instead put it back into the hands of the workers. The result?
Interesting.
Employees made $78 an hour.
Oh my
That's the Marxist
gosh.
definition of exploitation. And every
Holy
single
nuts. The minimum wage in the U.S. is 10 times less than that.
Yeah, so I don't know. So it was Ohio. Ohio probably has a pretty low minimum wage,
Yeah.
I would think.
They're probably, I would guess 10 maybe.
So, wow, 8 times as much. I mean, man, that really says a lot. I mean, there was some company in Portland or Seattle or San Francisco, one of those places where the guy decided that he was going to take a pay cut as the owner down to what everybody else makes. And all of these news articles were saying, they're going to go out of business. They're going to go out of business. They can't survive like this. And apparently the company is like way more successful than they were. And all the employees are super happy. And like people rarely quit now.
So you're saying people who get paid fairly for what job they do a better job and are more motivated to work?
But why would they do that when they can just wait for the next generation to come up when they're in their teens and in their 20s, where it's basically the norm that You got to work, do what your boss says, and then even when you're in college, you work for free.
Yeah, you gotta do an unpaid internship or something.
Pretty cool.
It's crazy though, that was just like a pizzeria too. It's not like a insanely profitable business.
What
too.
if Amazon did that?
Yeah, that would be crazy. Everyone would be getting in those warehouses.
Capitalist business in the world relies on it, whether they want to or not. The most egregious examples, of course, are those we see with billionaires' companies, in which figureheads...
And there's always those. It's always the biggest companies pay their employees the least.
Have the highest turnover.
And it's crazy. It's crazy.
no longer work on or only ever held stock in the company walk away with hundreds of millions of dollars a year. But even with a more relaxed definition of exploitation, we see this kind of behavior playing a massive role in billionaires' wealth. You may have recently heard of exploitation occurring in newly minted billionaire Rihanna's Fenty beauty factories, or
Nice.
Beyonce's Ivy Park sweatshops.
Nice.
It's immediately obvious to us how sweatshop labor is clearly exploitative when workers, often children, make mere cents for each grueling hour spent in
Imagine if they did the pizzeria strategy with that. Those Indian kids would get paid $78 an hour. or
They'd
something.
have generational wealth
Yeah.
for the next like 4 generations.
safe conditions. Compare that to the billionaire status of those at the top, and it's impossible not to see something deeply wrong and exploitative in the working arrangements they have created. While Rihanna and Beyonce might be the face of the club this week, they are no more or less culpable than their mega-wealthy peers, those whose less glamorous companies manage to avoid the spotlight. Once again, how does this kind of behavior make a person self-made? That brings us to point number 3, government help. Here, the conservative and libertarian views of the world's billionaires are the most evidently hypocritical. Elon Musk is probably one of the biggest offenders, so let's come back to him for a second. Musk often talks about the government in very disfavorable terms. He regularly decries government regulation, does everything he can to avoid taxation, and fiercely defends the belief that markets should be free. That said, the billionaire's companies, SpaceX, Tesla, and SolarCity, would have no hope of existing without the government's absurd $4.9 billion in loans and tax breaks. We're using
That's
Musk as a
just for
flagrant example
SpaceX.
here. But the nature of our current economy is that throughout the entirety of the chain of production, government subsidies are granted from public money only for the profits to be privatized by people who hoard wealth at a level we haven't seen since the Gilded Age.
Interesting.
Pharmaceutical research is another classic example of this phenomenon, where large amounts of government funds produce the innovations needed for life-saving medication, only to eventually be appropriated by the private sector, where profits stay squarely within the hands of a few executives who jack up prices and strand countless Americans without access to the healthcare they need.
It all comes down, in the United States, it all comes down to this, almost always. Socialize the risk, privatize the profits. That's what it always, especially the drug companies. The risk of creating a new drug, all that money into the research, public funded. As soon as it gets made and it's effective, we'll take that and we'll profit all the money from it.
I mean, say there was like you get cancer and you need like something to treat your cancer, and you go and you pay a doctor. You're like, here's $100. Please research and figure out how to cure my cancer. And then they take that money, figure it out, and then they're like, all right, I found the way. Now give me $2,000 and I'll sell it to you. And that's basically it.
And it wouldn't even be the person who discovered it that would be selling it back to you. It would be somebody else came in, took it for free, and they're like, all right, now you...
Exactly.
It's crazy. And I mean, also the way with like the way the banks work, they were giving out the loans in 2008, all the terribly risky loans, and then they went under. And the taxpayers bailed them out. The government bailed them out. They socialized basically the bailout, but all that profit, nobody ever saw any of that.
And meanwhile, at the same time, they're taking everybody's money that's deposited into their banks and using that to buy property and build new banks and towers in downtown New York and stuff. And now they have a property making money for them.
And if none of them got arrested for all that stuff, I guarantee you none of those properties got seized. They got to keep all of their assets, get free money from the government, and probably, actually it was quite common at that time, just rebought their own stocks, so their company value just kept going up. It's crazy. Nobody gets arrested.
This is not the vision free market proponents are selling us, where their ludicrous profits are justified by all the risks that innovation entails. In reality, they benefit from the largest public money safety nets in our society. Billionaires receive the government help most analogous to socialism of anyone, but fiercely get in the way of the rest of us enjoying the same privileges so that they can pocket more money than entire nations. No billionaire has ever gotten to their status by ethical means, and to revere them as icons of self-made success is to give them a pass for their selfish, parasitic behavior. We can dream of success without them. We can achieve greatness without them. We can let go of the myth of self-made billionaires. Imagine for a moment a world without billionaires. Imagine that world where you could actually get the full value of your work, like those pizza shop workers with their $78 an hour wage. How much less stressful would your life become? How much more pleasant and fair would it all be were it not for someone at the top hoarding far more than their share? Hundreds of millions of lives would be improved in an instant. At the end of the day, we produce enough for everyone. Let's stop pretending it makes sense for so much of it to be in the hands of so few people. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that this kind of
with the whole like owners and stuff like that, the only reason that they decide that they earn more money than the people that work for them is because they put the financial risk at the beginning. So because they put the financial risk at the beginning, all of a sudden they decide that they get all of the profits out of it in the end. But the people holding up the business the whole time are the workers.
It's pretty insane that I lost my train of thought because I was looking at Jesse Ventura's face.
Our boy.
And that's literally what it comes down to. That's the biggest talking point by people who defend billionaires is, well, they put up all the risk, so of course they should get all of the profit. They just completely ignore the fact that all of the workers exist and all of these people that they're just taking advantage of exist, and that somehow, for some reason, instead of raising the pay for their workers, they should just keep making more and more money year over year and just never raise their wages. And then when they get to the point where they're like business caps out, because capitalism is a system that requires infinite growth in a country or world with finite resources, instead of just kind of taking a hit in their profits or like letting the profits level out, outsource, go to India, lay off people, get robots to do all the work. They find any way possible to just screw over all their workers because they don't care about their workers.
But they were loyal, and they earned a pizza party one time for how loyal they were to their company.
They probably get a little bonus during Christmas, you know, stuff like that. Nice. I mean, it's pretty sad the way things work. And then just know that the government is just completely bought by these people. And basically their entire propaganda is to basically pretend like none of the corporate subsidies exist from the government, and that actually all the government's money is going to pay for all these poor people, all these programs to these poor people.
Yeah, you guys, I don't think that those people deserve it. That's just handouts. I worked hard for my money. But I did get $300,000 from my parents to start my business.
I get millions of billions of dollars a year from the government, but these poor people getting $12,000 a year on welfare? That's stealing your tax dollars. So let's see if we can find this Jesse Ventura video. I don't know which one it is. Jesse Ventura is just the guy. Oh no, it's Jackhammer. Here we go.
Because there is nobody that works hard enough to earn $1 billion. And my argument is this: the 2 jobs I did in my life that were physically the most demanding and mentally the most difficult that I ever did paid me the least amount of money. One was going through
I don't know what this is.
and Jenny billionaire to put up with 6 weeks of that at $62 every 2 weeks.
$62.
And the second was right before I went in the Navy. I worked 40 hours in 4 days on the bridge crew. And guess what I did? Ran the 80-pound jackhammer. I challenge any billionaire to run the jackhammer for 40 hours 1 week and tell me he works harder than that.
It's true. Jesse Ventura is an interesting character. He has his conspiracy theory stuff, but he does spit some truths quite often.
Yeah, I mean, what if we just like pause all the billionaires for 2 months and have them just build a house together?
Yeah, what would happen? They'd probably be like, oh, my evil hands. Why do they all get cartoonishly evil the richer they get? I don't understand. Why does the Zuck look more like a lizard every day?
Like they randomly get super into health and fitness so much that they change their body physically and like turn into these weird... It's part of the lizard cabal for sure.
It definitely is. I mean, in the end of it all, we need to go back to the 1950s tax rate in the United States, 90% over whatever it was, tens of millions of dollars.
If you're not going to give it back to the workers, then just give it to the government so they can employ some social programs that give it to the people who basically are the workers.
I think anybody can live off $900 million fine. Do they really need billions to be happy?
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.